Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason Grady. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Inland Wetlands Commission of Monroe. It is August the 28th, and it is currently 7:11 p.m. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll start by introducing the members of the commission present here tonight. Starting all the way to the right is Commissioner Keith Romano. Next is Commissioner Clark Gingras. Next, Commissioner Ross Mastroraco. Next is Commissioner Jim Stewart, who is our treasurer. He's a professional engineer and a licensed land surveyor. To my left is our Vice Chairman, Jeff Shamus, who is a certified ecologist, a certified soil scientist, and a professional wetland scientist. Next is Commissioner Lois Spence, who is our secretary. Donna Szynski, our office manager. Next is Denise Halstad, right? I'm sorry. Who is a professional engineer, right? Mm-hmm. And with us is Sarah Stroud, our recording secretary. I'll read to you our mission statement. The objective and purpose of the Inland Wetlands Commission is to provide for the overall protection and preservation of the inland wetlands and watercourses within the town of Monroe. In the normal course of our meetings, we will hear a public hearing and other applications. The protocol for public hearing is to have an applicant make a representation or presentation to the commission, during which and after which the commission will be asking the applicant questions. The commission will then review town, staff, and other independent comments. The meeting will then be opened up for public comment. I will ask that all comments be made to the chair or the commission. After any and all comments pro, in opposition, or of a general nature are made, the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond. It is not necessary that the applicant respond, but generally in their best interest to do so. There will be no further opportunity for new questions unless new material is entered in as evidence or testimony during their response. Please keep any and all comment, pro and con, specific to inland wetlands related matters. Other applications that do not involve a public hearing will follow a similar format, with the exception that there will be no public comments allowed. The meeting follows our published agenda unless otherwise amended. The agenda is up on our front table, it should be like a copy. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight?
The only one thing was just a clerical thing. It says, where is it? Under enforcement, B, administrative review, it says 5 Bridge Street. I believe it's 5 Bridge Road.
Okay.
That's it. I don't have anything to add.
Before I move forward, it is with much chagrin that I announce that I will be resigning from this commission as of the adjournment of this meeting. It's been a long road for me, but some new family matters take precedence here. So throughout the meeting, start thinking about what you guys want to do for your next meeting and the election of a new chairman and any other officers that need to be elected. Okay? Moving forward.
I'm gonna miss you.
You don't have to lie, you're on the record.
I'm not getting money for you.
It's been a few years, so
Yeah.
time for me to pass the torch. It's an enormous responsibility. There are no subdivision.
Don't say that, you'll never get a successor.
Subdivision report and recommendation to Planning and Zoning Commission, there are none. There's no regulated activities, no regular meetings, no public hearings tonight. We're moving on to the enforcement portion of our agenda. Notice of violation discussion, IWB 2019-07, 104 Century Hill Road, K&T Associates LLC owner. Tree clearing and grubbing to water's edge. Come on up, sir. If you don't mind, if you could just start by introducing yourself with your name and your address for the record.
Yes, my name is Gaetano Mara. I'm the agent associated with the owner, representing the and I live at 64 North Road, Monroe.
Okay, so you are the real estate agent,
Who sold the buyer of the house, the current owner.
so you sold that, you were involved on
Sure.
the sales side?
Yep.
Okay,
So we have no
The
pictures.
fact that we can't put anything up is tough. If you want, I could fill in a little bit.
yeah, if you don't mind, just start, maybe,
We don't have anything, do we?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we do?
got it
Yeah, you do.
last meeting.
All right, then it's in here.
When did we get it?
Oh, no, we,
There was,
We discussed it at our last meeting for the notice of
Right.
Yeah,
violation.
it's gotta be in
Did
here.
we get it
Yeah.
drawing or anything?
there was some tree cutting on the sides of the property from the back of the house to the water's edge. It was a complaint from a person across the lake. When I got out there, the landscaper had already done the clearing.
Right.
And, yeah, it's in the upland review area, but there was no permit or anything taken out, so. If you can see the pictures, I don't know, do you have a report?
There were some pictures attached to
Yeah.
the violation background report that
Yep.
we got at our last meeting.
Yep,
And it reads, the origin of the violation received a complaint from a neighbor across the lake that work was being done on the property, trees were being cut down, and a lot of clearing and grubbing on the property to the water's edge. There was a backhoe observed on the property.
yep. I mean, we could see, in the pictures, you could see the, the disturbance, the maturity of what was there, we can't contend to because it was already removed.
It was already done.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so what do you know about the clearing and grubbing? Anything?
Okay.
I was looking at the address.
I mean, I don't know really much, other than the area to the, if you're looking from the front to the right, that appeared to be just overgrown area. He was trying to improve the property. He bought it at a foreclosure, so he didn't have any knowledge of the wetland area.
Okay.
In hindsight, he probably should have done more. So he just wants to know what he needs to do to make the situation right. He's purchased and renovated some incredible properties in Monroe over the last 2 years, so he works very closely all the time with the building department. And we've never had an issue with him, but I think he really thought he was just making it look nicer to resell it, which I understand, but, so whatever needs to be done, just let us know, and I will relay it to him, and we'll do it. I mean,
Okay.
whatever it is, it doesn't matter, just tell us. It did appear to be just overgrown, from what my time there, just a bunch of brush. It didn't appear to be,
Was it, did you
Wasn't
look at
wet.
old aerial photos to see if it was ever cleared
Um,
in the past and just let go?
there are old aerial photos, and, I mean, the 2006, you could see tree, the tree
Completely
canopy's
tree.
kind of coming, but, the canopy is sometimes a little bit deceptive. So it could have been more brush than the actual trees. I mean, there
But I
are
mean, there's-
trees still there.
But there's no, 20-year-old photos that you could find that show that the area
Well, I
was mowed at one point and
No,
and just left.
There's always been a swath of grass going from the back of the house right to the lake.
Okay,
It's just,
it's been widened.
it looks like it's been widened.
Considerably.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, we don't know if it was brush or,
I mean, I don't have pictures or anything, but it was brush. He doesn't do, people who renovate homes like this, they don't do tree work. He just was trying to clean it up. It was a couple hours there. It wasn't like he was there all day long with huge machinery.
yeah, it was
It was
obviously
just, it was
like a
ripping out
corner.
brush. It wasn't, most of it feet from the water, which is why I don't think it ever even crossed his mind that he was in that type of area. But in hindsight, like I said, he probably should have, the landscaper that he hired should have probably checked because of the water.
So that was all up in review, that, as far as
It
we
was
could
all
tell?
upland review area,
Well, that's because the wetland is the water.
is the lake.
So, I mean, the
Yeah, I get you.
upland review
Yeah,
goes
I-
right next to
yeah,
the
you're
water.
All right.
So,
It's definitely a visual improvement on the property from my real estate perspective. And saw-
I understand, yeah, and we understand what happened here and why it happened. Unfortunately, it was a regulated area that was disturbed without permits. And that brush was probably there for a reason, as far as the protection of the upland review area. But it's clear from photos that, or at least, 13 years old at this point, that it went all the way down to the water anyway. So it's the widening factor that we're dealing with.
So what does he want to do?
Wants to maintain it as grass?
I mean, I know he wants to do nothing, obviously, and plant grass, but.
Right.
I mean, just plant grass. I mean, it was just, it was really trying to improve the property, it wasn't.
Well,
Well, there's different ways of improving the property depending on which way you look at it. Improving, cutting vegetation down as a lawn is one way. Another way is planting native vegetation
Yeah.
for,
Well, that's why I
For the
said he-
wetland
he
regulated
wasn't
area
planting
is
anything.
another
He doesn't do that, he was
improvement.
just trying to
Here's
clear
some
it.
color photos we're gonna pass down, so
Oh,
if you get a much
It's in the
better.
folder.
You can get a better
much
perspective
idea.
since we can't
Yeah,
put them up.
there was no intention to plant any plantings. If you want plantings, it's fine, it's, I mean, knowing what buyers want for resale, they want a little more yard, so he was trying to just give the next person a little more yard. He wasn't, gonna plant any big,
He still owns the property, or it's already been
oh,
sold?
he owns the property.
He owns it.
Mhm.
It's on the market at this point?
No,
Not yet, or it's not?
no, we
gonna-
don't wanna wait till this is resolved.
Understood.
And
Yeah, yeah.
like I said, if he has to pull permits, if you want him to do plantings, if grass is okay, just tell us and we'll do it. He's easy, he wants to supply.
that's the kind of photos.
It appears to me that this is one of the few properties on the lake that does have all clearing. Am I right on that? Because
Have
both
what?
sides are heavily treed on both neighbors on either side. How is the rest of the lake? Is it, well, I'm not even sure which lake this is. Is this,
This is right behind 111. Yep, right, if
It's
you're
a
past the
small-
high school, it's
It's a
on the
small
left.
little,
Small.
Yeah, it's not Zor, or it's not Jockey Hollow either. It's a really small, much
I would
smaller
love to
body
see
of
an
water.
overview of the entire pond or lake, whatever it is.
It's right here.
Oh, all right.
The house is right there. That's a strip.
Okay.
And that's the little
It's,
pond.
the lot slopes too, it's not like
I
a
know
flat
where
level
that
lot.
is now.
yeah,
Okay.
it's so right
It
there.
kind of
Yes.
slopes down, so like you said, he was just trying to,
Opposite Manassas.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. they-
there's a little dock there for a paddle boat or whatever.
all right.
All right, so where we lay is that the notice of violation was issued, and now we need to
Decide what do you want for a
decide what
submission.
kind of process we want to remedy the notice of violation.
Well, that could be done in deliberations and then a letter could be sent. Or, since we're having technical
well, I
difficulties.
guess I'd like him to see if they've got pictures of what it was before that are more descriptive than, you know, and then aerial photo.
2006.
You know,
If
if
who
he
has
does, whoever did the work or whoever
Oh.
bought the property, if there's some pictures that
We don't,
shows it was.
the buyer doesn't have
It's
anything.
gonna,
There is some. The 2006 overview.
well, the aerial though.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really tell what's going on. If he's got some
There
pictures
was-
of walking
typically
through there and it's all invasives and everything, it might change what I think should be done, although I'm feeling that he should hire a landscape architect and come and
No,
make
it's
a
not
proposal.
Right. I mean, we
Provide all
can't
these
tell you what to plant by,
And like, leave it, like, don't,
well, hire
Not
someone
disturbed.
that can put a plan together showing the plantings. I mean, to me, it'd be shrub plantings, if you're doing in kind of what was there, it wasn't trees, it was shrubs, or, you know, the grass layer that just growing up high or whatever. And,
we would have to disturb further to have it cleared.
no, what was disturbed is gonna be,
Plant.
from what I
You have the
saw,
picture from now, it still looks, there's brushy there.
yeah, I
So
mean,
if it
from
just
the
grew naturally-
grading, well, from the pictures I saw with the grading,
Okay,
you could just plant in that, and,
because you didn't go like all the way down to the grass, like there would be more, so I was wondering do you think an option would be to, and I said, I've done multiple properties here with you guys before, so is there a way to just maybe mark them with 4x4 posts and leave it and let it go back to its natural state without going nuts here? I mean, it wasn't, it literally looked like brush. I mean, I'm aware, I've dealt with major wetland issues here in town. I could give you the addresses, 87
Well, I
Benedict, 3
think
Street, Brian.
that's if you hire a professional that comes in and looks at what's left there and says, hey, he just mowed this down and it's all just brush and it's gonna be back in 6 months.
Well,
I mean, if he wants to look at it, he could make that proposal and then.
I think the
take a
point
look
is they're
at it.
gonna put grass there.
Well, then he's gotta get a permit.
We don't have to. It does, whatever you guys, if you just say, don't touch it. and
I
then-
I thought you wanted to maintain it as,
You had made the, like, you could either do that or do plantings. There was never an intention to do a planting. It was just to, I mean, it was already open and then there was just ugly brush. It really just appeared that he was improving the property by getting rid of brush.
was it cut to the edge of the pond, or is there a buffer from the pond edge?
It goes right to the pond's edge, and it's just on the sides. I
It's
mean,
just
it
the right-
always
yeah.
went, the
No, it always
grass
went to the
areas always
pond,
went to the pond's
but
edge.
there was
It-
a width.
Yeah, there's
on
like
both
swath
sides.
on both sides, yes.
In those colored pictures, you can sort of see the.
That's why I sent you the
because
colored
it's-
photos
you know, You
down.
can see the dirt that was disturbed.
I'd say that at least there should be a buffer of plantings at the edge where it was.
We could do plantings and
But
not the
the,
posts.
you know, and then the rest of it, just throwing out ideas.
Yeah. If we have to get a landscape architect, that would be, we could do plantings to identify and then not make it.
So I guess what what you're saying is that we want a remediation plan that includes replanting that area that was disturbed. Or
A
if a
plan,
professional says,
a plan that,
Feeding back.
it doesn't have to, I mean, it could be, you know, you've done this before, I guess, so.
We're getting a
Yeah.
lot of feedback.
I mean, to me, a buffer at the pond's edge is probably the most important. Whether it's a 15-foot buffer off the edge, since they cleared to it, to at least reestablish a shrub zone in that area. The rest of it, if, you know, I'm not gonna make recommendations of what else they could do for the remainder.
Definitely should be some type of vegetation that grows.
Right.
Roots will hold onto the soil, erosion won't be an issue. It's not an area we want to mulch. That's probably not what they wanted anyway.
No, they want to mulch.
How about like the conservation seed mix? And wetland markers?
I think the markers, though, are, I mean,
Well, that's true, that the markers don't make any sense.
well, it goes, yeah, right.
They don't, yeah.
We can get a landscape architect then to hit the right sides and then make it like a no-mow area.
I would just be afraid that the invasives are gonna move in if you don't plant it with something. And then you got a bigger problem.
The only thing is, yeah, when you sell the house, people who buy it might look at it and be like, yeah, what is this? And wanna mow it. And I guess part of this is maybe what do you call it, remediation application, where you come to us and say, here's what we propose to do, which may include some plantings at the pond edge, and it may, the rest of that area open and allowing, and, you know, basically getting the commission's approval to do that. I don't know.
so yeah, I think that's probably the best. We're looking for a remediation application through the office that includes buffer plantings where they were removed up towards the water, and then, you know, whatever
And
plan your,
Some improvement.
whatever plan that your professional suggests on that other area, whether that be the conservation mix.
To plant and stabilize those areas, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all the way like down to the ground. I think a lot of what's there is still gonna come back pretty strong, but whatever the landscape, whatever they advise.
Right, but we are gonna be looking for those for the plantings. I know you're not gonna cover the whole, because that wasn't there in the first place. But, you know, in that swath, those two swaths that word, was cleared to the end, some plantings right at the water's edge.
Are the color photos still around?
Yeah.
You guys wanna pass the file back up here?
So you want plantings near the water's
Keith
edge?
had just gotten it.
He said like a 50
Oh, okay,
foot
fine.
buffer from the water's edge.
Yeah,
Right.
I recommended at least a 15-foot
15
buffer.
foot buffer. It's just along the water's edge and then whatever on the
Whatever the
disturbed
landscape
areas,
architect says on the side.
On
I
the
think
each sides as it comes further.
Okay.
Okay? Does anybody else want to see anything in that plan besides what we just said? Okay, so you could grab that application.
Do we have that one online? I think we do.
Keith, did you want it back?
Online, but if you come to the
Well, is it
land
the
use
one-
office.
is it the
sorry,
remediation application?
No, they want to come before, they want to.
Yeah, that should be online too.
It should be online on our website, but if you don't find it, you're welcome to come into the
What's it
office.
called again?
It's a remediation submission.
Remediation submission. Okay, I'll find it.
That kind of formalizes the process, so it all goes into the land record. That way, the process is there and the end result is there, so the violation clears off the land record. So when it's time to remarket the property, then that'll all be off the land records.
Okay. So, once we get the plan, what would be
You
the,
submit it to the office and they'll put you on the agenda with the plan. You
for the
come in,
next?
yeah, you come in, you submit it, and
And we'll do
Make
the
sure it's-
timing of it.
make sure it's squared away.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Thanks for coming in, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sorry for the wait, the holdup.
All right, moving on to the next portion of our agenda, which is remediation submission, IWR 2019-01, 3 Lower Circle, Gloria, restoration of disturbed regulated area. Good evening, sir.
Thank you. James McMahon is certified professional soil scientist with JMM Wetland Consulting Services with offices in Newtown. Firstly, the engineer, Alan Shepard, from Nowakowski of Beaman Kane, won't be able to join us this evening. He had a family matter he needed to attend to, so I guess you have me.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Not that it helps, they have the map.
Good,
but
because-
I do have this for you, so
Okay.
if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any big plans. I just have little plans. Oh!
Well, I think we have,
Correct. I'm gonna put it right here. You guys have one.
yeah.
I guess there was a question, should I get started, you guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I guess there was a question that they didn't know when the wetlands were delineated. I did those back in May 6th of this year, 2019, and what I did was I flagged the wetlands that were there today. I know there's a violation, probably from 2012. I didn't have the excavation done on soils. I flagged what was there today. And we have come forth now with a proposal to remediate that violation. The applicant bought the property recently, knowing that there's a violation, and he is willing to help alleviate that, and hopefully have it removed from the land records.
Excellent.
I visited the site with the engineer on August 9th of this year to sort of get an idea of what exactly is going on, what we're thinking of doing, kind of get a view, because it's actually, the site looks much different now than it did in May, early May. There's a lot of vegetation growing, much of it is desirable. I'll get into that in a few minutes. Our plan, I'll tell you right off the bat, our plan, we're proposing that the pond itself and the east of the pond will be untouched at this point. The reason why, I know the pond has a lot of phragmites, but the east of that pond is actually quite good. There's a fair amount of vegetation, minus the frag. We have red maples, birches, tons of willows, rice cutgrass, woolgrass, sedges, airleaf, tear thumb, as well as others. And that actually extends around. I'll show you, because I know we don't have it on the board. If I can just come to the table for a minute. That's fine.
It's quite good.
As you move sort of north and then west, that sort of vegetation continues. So this whole eastern part, and as we move this way, it's actually quite good. I know there's a whole thing of phragmites here, but we'll get into that in a minute. I just wanted to show you that the vegetation has come back over the 6 or 7 years that this has been sitting around in violation. The restoration plan is we have it broken into 2 areas. Restoration 1 is within the disturbed upland area located west of the pond and east of the landscaped wall. west of the pond, I'm telling you, Tanya, west of the pond, and east of this landscaped wall. Everybody see that?
Thank you.
West of the pond, east of the landscape wall, so this area here, so restoration area 1.
Do you want mine, Joyce?
I'll follow over here, I'm okay.
What we're planning to do there is remove all the vegetation in the area, which includes a fair amount of mugwort, which is an invasive species. Prepare the area for planting, and it may include soil amendments, such as topsoiling. And then plant the proposed trees, shrubs, and seed mix, which is on table 1 and 2. We'll go over that in a minute. Restoration area number 2 is the area west of the landscape wall and east of the gravel driveway. That's called restoration area 2. And what we're gonna do there is very similar, except for a few additional items. We're gonna remove the shed areas, these sheds here. And there's a little bit of asphalt there. I guess they must have parked a car. We're gonna have that removed as well. There's a small patch of Phragmites, which is, just around this area. We're gonna have that removed. Then we're gonna, again, prepare the area for planting, maybe topsoiling, and then plant with the vegetation on tables 1 and 2. After all that is, and then finally, we're gonna construct a dry laid wall, stone wall here to sort of demarcate that area. That east of that wall is the restoration area, and please do not touch. And west of the wall will be where his family, his kids play and such. And finally, I will, as the wetland scientist, will conduct a post visit after everything has been planted for final approval and sign off, make sure the town is satisfied with what we've done so far. And then I'll have 2 growing seasons, assuming it's put together this year, it'll be 2020 and 2021, that I will go back and write a small report on how it looks. Plants are doing, what's growing, if there's any invasives that are either worse now or abated on their own. So that is our plan. Let's go through some of the plants. Table 1, in restoration that's next to the pond, we've got a couple species of trees we're gonna plant, and then a number of shrubs, bayberries, gray birches, hibiscus blueberry. I mean, you can see a couple of viburnums. And then we have the numbers, what we're doing. And then restoration area number 2, we're not gonna plant any trees there. We're gonna plant mainly shrubs, kind of doing a dual service there. It's going to remediate the fill or the violation, plus also add as a little landscape feature as well, so because the family's gonna be able to see that area. So we're looking to kind of do a dual thing. Looks good, won't go away even if the property is sold, because it looks good. And then behind the wall will just be where the larger amount of shrubs and trees will be planted. We do have a seed mix. We're planning on planting the New England Conservation Wildlife Mix out of New England Wetland Plants. We buy it from them. We're gonna put about 4 pounds in each area. And that's it in a nutshell, what we're proposing to do, to mediate this long-standing violation.
Can I ask a question? Ms. McManus, Restoration Area 1, that's entirely within the wetland, right?
Well, not anymore.
Okay.
That has been filled by the previous owner, and we're not looking to remove that fill. We're looking to remove the invasive species, which is mainly mugwort, and then replant with trees and shrubs, which are many of the shrubs, as you saw in Table 1, are wildlife enhancement shrubs. The hibiscus blueberries, the dogwood, the 2 viburnums at the end wild raisin and wood rod, they very producing wildlife. And also produce habitat in that area now, after the plantings, that's not there now. At least a more desirable habitat, put it that way.
How deep is the fill there?
Don't know. I have, I'm sure it's, hang on. Probably a foot or two by the wall, and I think it feathers back toward the pond.
So,
I didn't
my
actually-
question, I guess the reason I ask is
Yeah.
because with the, kind of the wetland plants being put back there, will they survive?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're gonna, remember, we're gonna plant the wetter plants more toward, like the trees are gonna go along the pond.
Yeah.
The high-bush blueberry and the red chokeberries are gonna be in this area. You know, the withrod and wild raisin can move up a little bit, a little drier. The meadow sweet will be up here. The gray dog would probably be along the stone wall. Because we're not doing silky dog, we're doing the gray dog wood.
But you may not be there, I don't know,
Well, I'm gonna-
when the plantings are occurring? Or will you?
I proposed to be there
Oh,
rather than
okay, all right,
doing I won't be there for the, when they rip and plant. I'm gonna be there when they actually plant the vegetation. Now, that all
okay.
might happen in one day.
Yeah, okay.
There isn't a lot of work that the landscaper will have to do to prep these areas.
No, because you give a good description, but if
Yes.
you're not there,
They'll
and it
plant
does, and it's not
something-
spelled
They'll
out,
put the red
then
maples
you,
in somebody else's yard. Yeah, I know. It's not the first time.
and the area number 2,
Yeah,
just trying to understand the extent of
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah.
So it's the sheds, the lean-to,
yeah.
and a part of that gravel driveway that has asphalt on it or something?
Well, that's under the lean-to, has the asphalt. He must have,
There's an arrow to the north.
yes, but we're proposing that the gravel driveway, because it's stable, has anybody been on the site? No. That gravel driveway is not what you think. It's more of a gravel driveway that was put in 6 or 7 years ago that has some vegetation. It's not like it's a beautiful gravel driveway that you can say, oh, it's like going up to a fancy home, this beautiful.
No, I'm only asking what is
No, I'm
proposed
just,
there.
yeah, I'm just trying to explain, we're gonna keep that gravel driveway there, leave it. So I know the arrow points to the gravel driveway. We're going to have our plantings in the shed area after they're gone, around the driveway, and then into this area here. The Phragmites is right here, that's gonna be removed.
Okay.
These are gonna be removed, so we're gonna be planting,
In that corner there.
yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna be planting east of the this gravel driveway, and then west of, yes, is that right? Yes, west of the wall. So this area in here will be planted with the plants shown on the table. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The last question I had
Yeah.
is area 3, you show the stone wall
Yeah.
going along the edge of lawn, which I
Yes.
think is listed there, right?
Yes.
I also see, and maybe it's no longer there, like the other wetland,
Right.
but that there's a wetland that comes up and the stone wall, proposed stone wall goes through into the existing, well, the wetlands that are shown on the plan, where the number 3 is.
Yes, I know. I see that.
Flag 9 and 10.
Yes. You could move the wall. I mean, that particular area is heavily disturbed from the previous violation. It just happens to still meet the definition when I went out to flag it.
I mean, it's just really doing the V around that, the boundary of the, I think what the difference could be is to make that change. I just wasn't sure if that was, like you were
No.
saying before, the other area wasn't,
Frankly, I didn't pick it up. When the engineer sent me the plan, he sort of did that. I told him verbally what we wanted to do, and then that's what he came up with, and I didn't pick it up. We could swing the wall around some of those flags. I was just trying to demarcate the wetland restoration area from the lawn area where the family will recreate. Again, flags flags 9 and 10 are in mold on right now.
Yeah.
And they have been for at least 12 years. Or, I'm sorry, at least 7 or 8 years it's been in lawn. I don't know what it's been prior to the gentleman who used to own the property.
Okay, here's my questions. To start with, we don't usually work basically on verbal information. We have to work on a plan. We need a planting plan. We need to know where, you said where they're going to be, but that when our inspector goes out to look, that doesn't help him or her. We need to see it on the paper. So if you could supply that, please, that would help a great deal. Number 2, I'm not happy with the concept of putting the wall, even if there is established wall there, this is supposed to be a remediation plan. I mean, even if there is a proposed wall there along the wetland, sorry about that, through the wetland. Let me start over. Even though there is an established lawn there, it's supposed to be a remediation plan, which means you're supposed to fix it. So I would like to see that wall, that proposed wall, moved, let me see, that would be west of the wetland flags.
Yeah.
And that wetland, perhaps seeded with wetland mix, or something that is going to restore that portion of the wetland.
Yeah, we can, well, we have the proposed seed mix. We could just seed that area as well.
Okay, so I would like to see a
Move
new
the wall
plan
west,
with the
west of the
plantings.
wetland boundary flags. Correct?
Yep. That was 1 and 2. What's the other one? And are the pictures of the trees, are these proposed plantings?
No,
You've
what's
got
out there.
some-
That's what's out there now. Those were survey located.
These
I
are
asked the-
located, sir.
Yeah, I asked the surveyor to pick up some of the bigger trees and a lot of the willows that are now, that have matured and or some of them are actually volunteer species, and some of them have matured since May. But a lot of this vegetation wasn't there, well, I don't know if it was there, it wasn't growing in May,
Right.
and now it is.
Right.
So some of it's
Understood.
volunteer, some of it's maturing from 2012, or whenever he started changing this property.
Okay. Good, so then the trees will be,
Those trees are going nowhere, and then we're gonna interplant with additional shrubs and trees. Those
Right.
trees that are.
so on the new plan, you're gonna show me where they're going, right?
The new ones.
The new ones.
We're gonna, yeah,
All
I'll
the
get
new,
yeah, I'll put a planting plan together showing where all the new stuff is going.
okay.
And
good.
that, these other shrubs or trees that are there,
Oh, yeah,
will just
that,
be
I
as
understand they're
part
just
of the
there.
plan.
And that's great, no
Yep.
problem with that. Is it planning on continuing to use the gravel drive?
no, it's not, but it's not advantageous to pull it out, because it's really not much there. By planting the area to the east of that, it's hard to describe it not being there. But it's not worth the time and effort and the money to do it. Because that little area where the lean-to is and the sheds, wrapping around that wall, will seed in front of the proposed new wall. That area will be mitigated at that point. Like I said, it's not a well-established road at this point. It's just, I don't want to call it compact, but it's, it's somewhat compact with gravel stone embedded in the soil.
Is it growing anything?
It's growing weeds. It's not invasive weeds, but it's growing some grass and some weeds and some fescue and some other weeds that we see, plantains and things like that. It's not unvegetated. I wouldn't call it robust, but it's stable. It's not eroding, it will never erode.
Okay, so you're proposing to leave it the way it is?
That's what we're proposing right now, is to
Okay.
leave We're just gonna change what I described, we're gonna leave everything else alone.
Is this wall, how much, I had a plan that was this big.
I know.
Until just tonight,
So do
so I
I.
didn't really have a chance to look at it. So I'm just seeing it now for the first time. How, oh, that's a 3-foot wall. Okay,
Yeah.
see, amazing what a little bit of size can do.
It's a little narrow, it's a little small in some parts, and obviously it's 3 foot in others.
So what's the purpose of that wall?
It was a landscape wall that the other guy installed.
Is it holding back anything?
It's holding back fill soils that we're gonna replant with a new plant palette, because right now it's pretty much, there's other plants growing in there, but essentially it's mugwort.
How exciting.
We'll keep some of the better vegetation if possible, but we gotta get rid of the mugwort and then replant. And that might involve some scraping of the soil, re-topsoiling, and then plant our shrubs, seed mixes in our trees. Just want to get rid of the, kind of the root base and the seed bank, the invasives if possible.
Okay. So with the new plan, that'd be great. Let's see it.
So we want to continue this to the next meeting, so we can get the new
We need that
plans in?
the new planting plan and the new planting plan as discussed, right?
Does anybody want to do a site walk between now and the next meeting?
I would like to. Anyone wants to see it?
You want to make it official one or just make it casual?
I said Jason doesn't want to?
He's out here.
It's
I'm a hobbyist
completely up to however the commission,
It's not a public
And
hearing,
Mr.
right? This is
Glory.
just
No, it's
a.
not.
Oh, no,
public
no,
hearing,
no,
so
no.
it's
So we
not-
don't have to have it recorded or anything like that?
Oh,
Just
no,
have
no,
the commissioners
absolutely
go
not.
out as needed or as they
yes,
feel?
for usually just one or two of them takes a visit out and reports
Yeah,
back.
2 or 3 of us.
So it's,
All right, so why
So-
don't, if the, are you the owner of the property, sir?
yes, Mr.
If you
Gloria.
just, we have his contact information?
Yes, your information's on the application,
Yeah.
right, Mr. Gloria?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can call and
Anytime.
tell you when we,
Say,
if we might
hey,
be able
we're-
to come.
we
Because
come
we're
by?
very, we have to be very spur of the moment sometimes. We all have very busy lives.
Yeah,
So,
if you have any questions, Mr. Shamus has my, yeah.
Okay.
If you have any questions, Mr. Shamus has my cell.
I think we have your contact info here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
On my report, you should have some contact. But the cell phone is, I'm never in my office.
It's on here.
We got that.
Oh, it is?
All right.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's
You
on
didn't-
there.
Okay.
I don't even look at it anymore.
So let me see.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When's the
very
next
much.
meeting?
Thank you, that's what I'm just looking up for you.
11th or 12th it is.
September 11th.
It's an interesting day.
And we're gonna cut out now for
Thank you.
Mr. Spence to take a look at our stuff.
Very good.
Okay, thanks.
Dave, do you know Donna? This is Donna, this is Dave.
I met you actually at the town contract.
Oh, that's right, yes. Yes, yes. So can we do 10 minutes break?
5-minute recess.
This screen, I didn't stop recording. This screen usually shows up on it, so.
We, push pause on that.
Well, that's 2. I don't know how to pause the other one. I can probably pause this one.
What does that one do?
They're just backups.
It's allowing me to select.
There's a
it,
stop,
it's
but I
not
don't think she
doing
wants.
Donna, is there a pause button on these so we can pause the recording? I'm sorry, I know you're busy.
Donna, you need to
I'm good,
be,
okay.
there needs to be 2 of you. Well, you've known that for a long time. Actually. That's unusual there.
We're back.
We're back on? All right, everybody, we're back. Moving on to application hearing determination, IWC 2019-09, 17 Enterprise Drive, Delmedico, development of warehouse and office facility.
Yeah, you guys should have all gotten those packets.
Yes, we did. Stay with us, Jim.
It's gonna be a hard one.
You guys are gonna miss me.
Just a little, we'll get over it.
Well, this we're just determining,
What kind of hearing?
right.
Right.
All right, Denise, can we have a little explanation?
You have that one? I'm just trying to find the file.
Oh,
It's not a one-hand word.
Large warehouse, existing building.
And you guys should have Denise's
Area.
notes also.
Ah,
Go back to our notes. Okay.
how about I make a motion?
You can't make a motion.
Why not?
Yes,
We
oh,
did
do
get
you want the
Denise's
explanation or no?
No, I don't need an explanation. I move we go to a public hearing for reasons of
Insanity?
insanity, public interest, and significant or potentially impact to the wetlands. whatever those
Significant
reasons
impact.
are.
Okay, public interest and
Significant impact activity, I think is what he was trying to say.
impact.
I think that's all we need to do.
Made by
So I have a
Commissioner
motion by
Stewart.
Commissioner Stewart to move this to a public hearing.
Second,
Do I hear a second?
I'll second. Oh, so Clark.
Clark.
Second by Clark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passed unanimously. Move to a public hearing. Fantastico. Moving right along to other, IWB 2017-07R, 127 Main Street, Keeler. Review of established plans to discuss if further planting should be done as stated in the remediation approval.
And he's not here.
He was just in front of us last time.
No, he requested an extension last time.
Yeah,
Because
but
his
he was-
plantings were, no, he
Somebody was here.
didn't. No, he asked for an extension
No,
because
he
his
asked for an
plantings
extension
were
last week.
due. He had to have the remediation of the area in front as of
Oh.
September 1st.
Okay.
And I went out to take a look at the trees, and when I was out looking at the trees, a lot of that area had been stabilized, so it made sense because it's been lying, natural state for so long. He went, took photos, and he was presenting it
Right.
tonight to see,
So,
does he have to disturb the area that's kind of naturalized itself and put the remediation plantings in it, or just alleviate any of the invasive species?
had you had any discussion with him since our last meeting?
No, just the report that got dropped off with all the photos.
So we received a report, a letter, in the form of a letter with some photos. It is from Mr. Jay Keeler of 82 Hannah Lane in Monroe, Connecticut, received on August 20th in our Inland Wetlands Department. It's addressed to myself and the Inland Wetlands Commission. Dear Chairman Grady, attached, please find pictures of the area that was to be planted downhill of the existing stone wall. The pictures are intended to show the existing very lush vegetation, removal of a substantial amount of the existing vegetation only to replace it with plants that will have to grow does not seem to make sense. As such, this is a letter to request that no further plantings be required. Thank you for your consideration. Signed, J.D. Keeler, Manager, Pondview LLC, and there is 8 pictures attached.
Okay, Denise, can you tell us, all right, yes, it's well vegetated, with what? Icy bittersweet,
Well,
which isn't really good.
right, we know that there's also some Russian olive in it, but we know that there's some invasive in it. But with what was required, it just seemed to take all this out to remediate was maybe,
Well, it's mostly trees we're asking him to
the
plant,
trees,
is it not?
no, the trees were already done.
Trees are done.
The 6 trees were done. There was 3 on one side and 3 on the other. This is the planting aspect of it.
He's still proposing to develop this property at some point, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, it's the property
The
that's right
back
next
side
to,
of
it's right next to the Baskin Robbins Dunkin' Donuts on the left, and it's just overgrown from whatever.
Yeah, because this is in the area that faces Main Street, and you,
This is
I remember, you go up a road, he
The
has a
property
gate,
he's
and then the
developing is
property
on
keeps
top of that
going
hill,
back.
just the front of that hill
this
he's
is-
talking
Everything was
about.
in front of the hill.
Right.
Like 5, 6 years ago, it was torn out, and it was like a road going up in there. and-
There's still, the road is still there.
Yeah, but now it's.
The road is
now
behind
it's
that
just
area.
Overgrowing with whatever.
Well, my feeling is, I think we should get someone to tell us what's there and what can be, what's invasives and what's gonna be removed, and give us a professional recommendation that this stuff is good and it can stay.
Yeah, because Russian olive
Versus-
is not, it's an
versus
invasive,
just-
bittersweet's an invasive.
I highly doubt that this is good stuff.
Yep, yeah,
It'll all
and
be
they're
gone in
annuals.
2 months, and it'll be dirt and
A
rock
lot of them are
again.
annuals,
Now,
pokeweed.
he had, how many, he had like a handful of shrubs needed to plant to finish his remediation, right?
I don't remember.
There wasn't
being-
many.
It wasn't much.
There wasn't much
But
at
the
all.
amount of time he spent writing letters and taking up our time would have been a few $100s in plants and be over and done with.
And if he hires somebody to go out there to make a recommendation, it's gonna cost him more than if he just
Just
does the
do it.
planting.
Yeah,
Which I agree with you that we should get that recommendation, if that's the way he wants to go with it. But just, I think it's gonna cost more money to do that.
I mean, I'd just like to see him put the damn plants in and
The
be done.
timeline keeps getting
And just
pushed and pushed.
Finish the deal.
I agree with you.
I mean, it's gotta be costing him more money. These plants are not expensive.
Is that something you can explain to Jay, that, that the commission basically wants a recommendation from a professional?
So,
Or just put the.
I think that we could draft a response to his letter saying, here's the 2 options that we find agreeable. Plant what was approved in the plan, or bring in a professional to explain what is there and what is viable or not. And let him decide which one he wants to do.
Okay.
And we need a time frame on that.
Because it was, he had asked for the extension, I think the extension is till October 1st. It was supposed to be September 1st to have everything done, the plantings.
Right. Yes.
And that's why he asked for the extension, so that
He did
this could be in
actually,
front of the
yeah.
commission. I'm just, 30 days. I'm just relaying.
So we have to agree to an extension.
No, we don't.
No.
He's got an extension till October 1st.
Yeah, he has.
No, September 1st.
September 1st.
Is he also have a?
No, September
plan for
1st
this?
is when it was supposed to be done. So you gave
It
him a
was a
30-day
30-day
extension, so it's
extension.
October 1st.
So he's
Okay,
gotta
so we'll see him before.
Extended to second September meeting is what I have.
Okay, so we got time, so we'll just,
All right, so send him the letter and see what he's gonna do with it,
yeah.
because he still has.
You okay with that, Donna? With,
Yeah, because he still has
proposing that
till
letter?
October.
I have a question. He's gonna go for a permit, does he already have an open permit for, excavation there?
That's P and Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's
That's
within
nice.
100 feet of the wetlands, it would,
Well, we have processed wetlands
application.
applications for him. I don't remember any of the dates.
This is it, though, right? This is it. I think where
No,
he's
this was
digging
the
is up.
violation for cutting down all the trees in front of the
There must have been
place.
the original one when he put the road in to do the development.
Yeah, because he
it
did
was
put the road in, we
Definitely
did
close to the wetland.
process something on
See, I
that.
have it. You told me it was the
Um,
first one.
You're,
It's a
Mining
long-
it, and then they stopped.
Started mining it.
What?
Mining it,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
They were, yeah, that's where all those
Mining
rocks
it,
rolled down
and,
there.
And,
Or just plant the plants, is that what you're saying, just existing? just
Yes, we
to-
could either
Either
go
follow
with
the
what's
professional-
already been approved, or he can hire a professional to come in and explain to
Tell
us
us
what
what's
is
good
there.
and what's not.
You guys
Right.
had this thing for 30 years. You can't get up and done.
Think anybody would mind, I don't think.
You have free time on your hands, maybe you wanna buy it and develop it?
Yeah,
You can move all the rocks by
Yeah.
hand.
that's what I need to buy another pile of rocks. I don't have enough on my property.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so.
We're okay with that? All right, so we're moving on to our deliberation.
No, 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 no. Ask the question.
His due date was to have everything done by October 1st, though. So we sent a letter out,
It's still, he has a month.
he still has a month.
Yeah,
But if he's gonna be submitting a professional's report, then
This
I'm just,
this
No, I
is a
understand. I
30-day
appreciate that.
extension requested. That's what it was, that's,
I
This is
understand, but
October
if he
2018.
decide, if either he has to plant it by the 1st of October, or he has to have a professional, then he has to come in front of the commission and present something. I'm just,
He's
Right.
gotta come in at the first
And
meeting
then-
in September.
Well, there's,
In 2 weeks, yeah.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. He's not gonna get that in 2 weeks.
That's not our issue, that's his
No, I'm
issue.
just,
And he's been,
This has been going on for
for a
many
long
years.
time, so he'll deal with it. Okay.
Okay, moving on to deliberations. I don't believe there's anything from this agenda. So IWC 2019-07R, 781 Main Street, Town Line Auto Body, site development and remediation of wetland violation. Did we all
I sent you guys the draft.
we all got the letter and we all read it, correct?
No questions, no issues I have.
Yeah, I was fine.
I'm good.
So the only question that I would have was that it doesn't appear that there is any time frame noted in that
Right.
letter. So how do you want to handle that?
For the remediation, right, because the, is
I
there,
have a copy of it. Thank you.
Let's see, I just try to put my
Should
hand
have
on
more
it.
than one as my record.
actually, that was my copy, we just took.
It was in
that's right, there's no planting plan, was there?
Those are the things I noticed when typing it up.
You want to be on this commission?
No, I
We need you. I came up with it everything.
didn't.
This is a remediation submission.
It's also
Is it also a,
it's site development.
development? I hate those.
Yeah, I
The combined
know.
thing is just not working. We've got to come up with a new way. So he'll automatically have 5 years, is it, for the,
Yes.
for the development? With an opportunity to extend it for another 5 years by state law. So, no,
It's not the projector, it's the output. PC is not working.
Okay.
oh, thank you for trying.
Thank you so much.
See you in a little while.
Um,
So we have just the remediation that we have.
This
to-
opened and closed on the same day. 7/24.
Can the remediation be done separately, is the big question. Do you want to see that?
This is public hearing. It was closed by August 28th, but it closed on 7/24. So, if that's the case, deliberation start.
Did you bring the paperwork? I always bring the paperwork with me. I did not bring it this time.
Well, I mean, the completion date. They only have another month and a half, maybe, to do plantings. And it's gonna go to the spring. And they still have to give us a planting plan, correct?
It didn't, you didn't,
They had
Filing of-
plants on it, but they didn't necessarily
Right. A planting plan was discussed during the public hearing, like where they wanted to plant things,
There's a,
but,
they've got the plants right here. They show plants.
oh, okay.
And here's the chart, but the chart also has the plants in the front,
Not just the remediation planting, and it seems they're more heavy on the front as not so much in our remediated area.
The hearing's closed, we can't
Right.
really do anything.
No, I'm
about
just
that
saying,
any
but
longer.
that's,
Yeah.
okay,
well,
so it's
we
just
fell
gotta
down on the
be
job.
what's on the final set of plans. I mean, they're supposed to, we talked about the wall and not the wall, the fence and stuff like that.
Since this was a public hearing, could we even now put a completion date on there if we didn't originally?
For the remediation part, we should be able to, because that wasn't subject to public hearing.
Correct.
It happened to be part of the whole thing, but
So,
it's a different.
so the completion date, should this be completion date of remediation activities?
I can change that, that's why that's a draft and not a final approval. You guys will look at that and change what you want on it.
I mean, if we're
Normally,
gonna say completion date of remedial activities,
Well, do we have to determine what the remedial activities are? What
well,
is
it's
included
encompassed
in
in
that?
the violation.
yeah.
It's the work encompassed in the violation, which is unpermitted structures in the wetlands and upland.
Which they did a bunch of, if I'm not mistaken, they did some of that work already, didn't they? Remove some structure.
Yeah, they moved it on the property next door that they don't own.
Did they?
Yeah, they had stuff over, that discussion where there was.
That was just driveway.
Yeah, but I didn't realize they moved structures over there.
No, that
No,
was
they
just
got,
the driveway.
they're gone. They had
Oh.
stuff over there.
Oh, okay. So
That was
the structures are
because
already
of the
gone,
zoning
so that's
violations,
not,
right.
that's
Yeah.
no longer an issue when it comes to remediation.
So we either have the end of October or May 1st.
The end of October gives them 2 months, right? That's 60 days.
I mean, I don't want them to come back in with another violation or whatever, just because they couldn't meet the date, unless
Why
they
don't
come in
you-
for an extension, but
Yeah, why don't we put it for the end of October, and if they wanna, if
Come
they
in with an
can't get it
extension.
done, they can come and ask for an extension until spring. Because they've already been working,
yeah, right, that's.
so why don't we just make that date, that
Okay.
October 31st or whatever date.
Because they're gonna be on site anyway, because it's part of it's the septic system that they're
Right.
trying to do,
And like I
so-
said, if Ray Riggio knows that if, we have the date there, and if he needs to, it's just a letter he's gotta send in.
Okay,
Right?
so, let
Yep.
me mark
Does
this
everybody
down.
disagree?
No, that sounds good.
August 28th, the remediation completion date will be
October 31st.
October 31st. And the site development is the 5 years. Like normal.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it's really, looks like the violations are really mainly structures.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah,
So that
and a
should be
lot
hard
of
to
it
finish
was,
by.
right,
Oh, and the plantings were going to be that's part of the violation remediation?
yes. So basically it says the conditions would be one complete set of final plans, which must include the following revisions. The addition of a notation on plans clearly showing the existing dumpster to be relocated to the proposed location as shown on the plans. Clarification on the plans as to what is existing and what is proposed. Line types on plans do not clearly define existing to proposed, and lack of labels further adds to the confusion. The addition of the split rail fence, item C is the addition of the split rail fence to be added to the plans. The split rail fence is to be shown from the southerly
Property line.
property line by the existing dumpster to the stockade fence, and then continue from the northerly edge of the stockade fence to the contour 417. The split rail fence is to follow the delineated wetlands, but is not to be placed within the wetland limits. Item D, the addition of town of Monroe wetland markers to be placed every 75 feet on the split rail fence and the stockade fence. Detail of the town of Monroe markers to be added to the plans. So those were the conditions that we had for that.
So the split rail fence is something that would probably go in after development takes place. Am I correct on that one? Or would that be part of the remediation?
I think that's part of the remediation, because the plantings in front of it.
Right.
Okay, all right, so you want to just delineate what the remediation expectations are to be completed by October 31st? Is that appropriate to do? Like a detail section?
It's on the CND, basically.
Did we have in our notice of violation letter spelled out what the violations were?
Yeah, it's here.
No, I'm just saying, so why can't we just say that,
Well, because the only description of violations in property had to do with structures. So, but the remediation includes plantings and a fence to prevent further encroachment, I guess.
Everything with structures in the upland review area
Mhm.
or in wetlands.
so, say removal of structures, installation of plantings and split rail fence?
Why don't we do this?
Well, they're not gonna remove the structures,
Right, because
because
they're
those are the,
gone.
They still have 65 days in which they can grant us extension time. Why don't I go back to the drawing board? We can go back to the drawing board, draft up another draft approval with a better timeline. And
So it isn't so piecemeal, you mean?
yes, and then you can vote on it in the next, because I think our 35-day deliberation, it closed at the last meeting, which means that we would have, the deadline to make a decision would be today. But if I ask them to grant an extension, which I'm sure they will, they'll, we can.
Then we couldn't, we can't leave it at October 31st then, because that takes
I,
away 2 weeks of
Right,
their work time.
so it depends on what the commission is comfortable with at this point. Do you want it tidier, or do you just want to say October 31st? And, because was there an addition to the building on that?
No.
I don't think
and the
so.
structures
So
are
can
all
we send them a
staying.
thing saying completion of activities on the plan, so-and-so, to be completed October 31st, and send it to them, and if they need an extension, they can come back and ask for an extension.
Can't we say the
Okay.
planting and the,
Because you're right, if there's not any construction, I don't know why they did.
Yeah, what are they doing that they needed a,
I think it was because they were,
because
it
of the
was a
septic
septic,
system?
and then they were doing something up in that,
well, that's where the new dumpster is,
But that's not
the
really,
relocated dumpsters.
that's not really,
What do you mean? Why they're doing what?
development.
yeah, why are they doing
Yeah.
a development application?
Because they wanted to legitimize all those structures
trying
they
to
had
do the-
behind
right.
the building.
Oh.
All those carports and
Yeah, they're not getting rid of them.
storage containers. No,
Yeah.
they got rid of some of them.
Yeah, they
But not
had
all
to
of them.
because they're,
Some of them they got
There
rid of,
was
the
only
rest they
those-
wanted to legitimize.
Right,
right.
Okay, all right. But since it's
But
a
for
legitimate
us-
application, we still have timeline restrictions.
And I think
legally.
they're still going, they're still going to zoning on those outdoor, on that
Right,
storage.
so you really only have to address the inland wetlands, so
Right.
we could just do them the October 31st.
Yeah, let's just do October 31st, and
Okay.
if they have an issue with it, then they can come back to us.
That's fine, because the requirements, the conditions that are in here are not hard to be met.
Yeah, they're minor.
Yeah,
I don't think,
Okay,
I don't
good.
think there's gonna be an issue.
so,
If there is,
Then-
not my problem.
I need a motion.
Do we need to read the whole thing into the record?
kinda did.
We have in the, well, you read the
This is-
conditions, but we didn't mention that the normal standard conditions are in there.
Okay, you're right,
Um,
you're right. Okay.
Do we have to?
I don't know, do we have to? We always did, but that doesn't mean that,
I mean, it's a living document that gets sent out. It's just, why
Right, but
read
the,
it into the, I don't know.
well, right, right, because it does have all the other standard conditions, just for the record, that we normally have on there with site stabilization, erosion control, standard requirements, submission of the final as-built, and 3 growing seasons, monitoring reports for 3 growing seasons, so it's the usual. I think we have all that in there.
okay,
Okay?
that works for me.
Alrighty, so
Move
Mr.
to
Chairman.
approve.
I'll make a
Draft
motion
As
to,
amended.
Okay.
So we have a motion to approve the draft letter as amended by Commissioner Spence. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Who was that? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Keith.
Second by Commissioner Romano. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes unanimously. Bond release and reduction reports, 34 Enterprise Drive, All-Star Transportation. Request for bond release. According to this bond release report, we released a portion of the bond. We still hold the $10,000 bond.
any recommendations?
The recommendations
Issues.
are on the bottom of the
Yeah.
engineering.
Scott had recommended that, to release it. You know, the detention basin was supposed to, allow the water to disperse, and it's been keeping some in it, but overall function of it is fine, so he felt that we could release the bond.
Okay, I move that we release the bond and maintain the $10,000,
No,
right?
release the 10,000.
So, yeah, that was it.
Oh, okay. I then release the final $10,000.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Spence. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. Bond is released. Time extensions, RWC 2014-03, 252 Monroe Turnpike, Goodwill, 60-day extension is requested. I've received a letter from Goodwill Western and Northern Connecticut, addressed to the Town of Monroe and Wetlands Commission. Dear Town of Monroe, we respectfully request an extension of 60 days to complete additional site work, maintenance and repairs as requested, and prepare appropriate status reports with continued maintenance schedules to be presented to the Inland Wetlands Commission and Planning and Zoning Commissions. Thank you in advance for your consideration. Please contact me with any additional questions or concerns. Sincerely, Ken Bennett, Vice President of Retail Service and Facilities.
Move that we give them the requested 60-day extension.
I've got a motion to grant the 60-day extension by Commissioner Stewart. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Extension of 60 days is granted. IWC 2019-08R, 4 Maple Drive, O'Keefe. Thought I was gonna get through a meeting without this.
Last
Parent-
one?
Yeah.
Apparently is not to be. Time extension requested to May 31st, 2020. Received a letter on, dated August 20th, from Spath Bjork and Associates, addressed to Dear Commissioners. On July 24th, 2019, the Commission approved the remediation and partial site development for the site. Condition A of the approval required that the corrected site plan be submitted by August 23rd, 2019 for review. These plans were submitted on August 20th, 2019. Condition B requires that all work associated with Phase 1 be completed by October 31st, 2019. An application was submitted, this is the same. They just changed the date on this letter, is that what we're doing here? An application was submitted to Monroe P&Z Commission on August 8th. Amend the special exception permit for the site to allow approved work. According to P&Z schedule, the public hearing will begin on September 19th, 2019. Following normal procedures, the final public hearing for the application will be on October 3rd, 2019. Allowing for a 15-day appeal period and a pre-construction meeting, there will not be enough time to complete the work by the October 31st, 2019 deadline. Therefore, we're requesting an extension of the deadline to May 31st, 2020. The date of the extension is to ensure that the planting can be done during the proper seasonal conditions. Yours truly, William F. Carboni, Spout York and Associates Incorporated. Here we are again. We had this exact discussion last meeting. We had this exact discussion almost for the pendency of my chairmanship in this board, of this commission. So you guys can decide what happens here.
You know, this has been going on for so long that I've actually forgotten a lot of it.
Well, it is before their commission, and he has to have that before he can start with the wetlands. We just reinstated this one, remember?
Yeah, because they let it lapse.
Yes.
Yeah, he got stuff taking care of it now since he's not the originating. Spath Workland took over this whole problem.
Oh, they've been with it for a long time.
No, this is the one last time he said, we just took this one over and we have to get this through the process and.
I don't know.
I thought that, wasn't it?
I don't know who it was. I don't know when.
I don't think it was this one.
It's before Maine, where they're no longer involved.
Oh, okay, all right, never mind.
This one, at least we can confirm that the submission is into P&Z. So
P&Z is gonna mess this up and we're not gonna be able to get plantings done this fall. Because they're gonna have to take their sweet time for a month and a half, 2 months to.
well, they're gonna do their
They're gonna take the
process
appropriate
just
amount
like
of time.
you guys do. I mean, you know, I don't know what to tell you there,
They're
Clark.
not gonna be able to plant because it's gonna be
Why
frost.
is that P&Z?
Sorry.
I honestly,
I think, did they also,
Because they had
it lapsed too?
a violation also.
and they
They
had
had put
to,
in millings and
Right.
P&Z
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
allow
yeah.
millings.
and there's lapse, so they had to reinstate.
Okay, I'm gonna mix things up. I'm gonna make a motion that we give them the extension to May 31st, 2020.
With their late.
Wasn't the last communication with them kind of giving them a drop dead date? Wasn't
No
that,
seconds?
Did we have
No,
one?
no,
not yet.
No, because we just
Only give to-
reinstated
only give
we
to-
literally
Oh,
just
okay.
reinstated the new.
November 20th, this
can't-
year.
You can't plant.
But you know what they can do is
You
remove.
can't, you
Yeah,
can put
one
hay
good
around
frost
it, they can do
instead.
a whole bunch of things.
One good frost instead.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I plant stuff.
Plant at any time.
I plant stuff.
You guys realize it does not matter what you
Get
say,
What?
right? None of that, it doesn't matter what you say.
They're still gonna get an extension.
They're gonna come back.
this is going to be gone?
They're gonna come back. I don't wanna see them
He
again.
hasn't known.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
because
We
then they're
give
gonna blame us
to
if they
November
plant
20th.
and they die,
Right.
and they have to replant.
You
They're
might-
gonna
Okay,
blame
so
us.
Give the
second,
extension.
anyone?
You could plant.
Anyone,
If the
second?
ground
May
is not
1st.
frozen, you can plant the tree.
What?
Yeah, but we're gonna have
May
to.
1st?
What?
Right,
That's
we
the
say-
reality of it.
Then they're gonna want an extension again.
If they can't hit May
Okay, I
1st, they're
wanna
not gonna hit
amend my
May
motion
31st.
to May 1st, 2020. Anyone second? Anyone?
Second. I'll second it.
There you go.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Stewart,
To May 1st.
May 1st, 2020.
and I have a second by Commissioner Gingras, sorry.
I'm gonna move this.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Crickets.
Any abstentions?
Crickets count as a
Motion passes.
Okay,
Ideal
all right,
meeting.
Crickets
Denise,
vote?
run us
Vote
through.
positively. Let's
Okay.
keep moving here.
Agent approval, 12 Glen Hollow, it's just a in-ground pool. 39 Nor Road, they're replacing an existing retaining wall, doing a deck and a relocated shed.
Perfect.
Under permitted uses as of right, we have 181 Hammertown Road, 6 dead ash trees that they wanted to remove.
Permitted use as a right,
Yeah, that's what I said.
motion.
Oh. I move
Jurisdictional
that this
ruling?
is
Jurisdictional
that we
ruling.
we approve this as a permitted use as of right.
Motion.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Spence to approve this as a.
I'll second.
Yes.
Rose, Jeff.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
So this-
On to enforcement. Administrative review and enforcement issues is the next thing on the agenda, I believe, correct?
Yep.
And, yeah, we don't have
IWV.
deliberation?
Say that again?
No, we don't have to deliberate it.
Okay,
We don't have any complete remediation submissions, correct?
correct.
Nope. IWV 2018-15, 4 and 7182 Main Street. Non-completion of approved remediation work.
Yes.
The record will reflect that Commissioner Romano is recusing.
Okay. Last meeting, if you remember, this is where Dave asked for the extension to August 31st.
Dave?
Bjorken, I'm sorry, Carboni, William Carboni from
Yep.
Bath Bjorken. He has basically till, he wanted me to go out there before this meeting to take a look. And it's a big hole, nothing's been done. I mean, they're still working, they're processing, but there's no way that they're gonna get the stuff done at the deadline that we had extended it to.
Okay.
It was actually, was it July 31st?
July 31st.
It was July- I'm sorry, it was July 31st.
July 31st, so that was already a
He
month
came
old.
in on the 24th, asking for an extension to July 31st. I went out there and it wasn't gonna get done.
All right.
And it's still a big hole back there.
Where's P and Z sitting on this? Because they've got a violation also.
They have a violation as well. I can't tell you whether they're aware of it, but I don't think anything's been done about it. Now, what I understand is Spath is no longer part of it, Soli is now part of it. They're supposed to be doing something else, but some of the things I saw when I was out there, because there's a new report, a new violation report that was written for you on it. And I mean, they're also on
Bless you.
neighboring property. Plus, the hole's bigger, they're pulling out garbage out of the area, they're processing the stuff that they're pulling out. Some of the dirt, they're running it, they say that's because they're pulling out the plastic. That was when P&Z had a bit of an issue because they were trying to sell that off.
Oh, man, this is.
This is the nursery?
This is behind the firearms building.
Hmm.
I guess it was an old nursery, and that's where all the junk was in the hole.
Didn't we have someone in front of us
Yes.
Yeah, that was,
with an application to?
Yeah. to do
Wait, they
something.
have an approval to remediate. They have
they
an
had,
approval.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not remediating.
But they're not doing the work.
Well, they didn't
They're
hit their
not
deadline,
compliant.
first of all.
Right.
But they're also kind of on other people's properties. They've kind of gone beyond
They had always been on other people's properties.
right, because I mean, if you look at the photos, and I don't know if you have the color, but, they have the marks where this is the edge of the property line, and you could see that they're beyond it. You could see,
What,
I think one of the properties, the guy offered to buy, right?
my
One of the neighbors.
understanding was that, the guy behind was giving the property, and that they
Yeah.
were gonna, who knows?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're cleaning because they haven't given us a plan for a proposal.
but I thought we have a remediation plan in place.
We do, but
We
they
do.
have not, they've ignored the deadline.
And
So
that's
we have-
why, and that's
we
the
have one
So
reason,
it's
remedy
back
here.
before you to say.
and that's why they're
We-
remediating, because they didn't come forward with a proposed plan for development, which is part of,
Yeah, that's
it was
the-
either you come in and you have the, do some remediation, or have your proposed plan.
But they're not doing the remediation.
They're still working on it.
But they're not remediating, they're working on something else.
Well, there's a big hole. They're pulling stuff out, they're
Well, they
going through
did, so
the,
they didn't meet the deadline.
they
Correct.
did not meet the deadline.
So-
Which is why there's new violation was written per your recommendations for me to go out there prior to when it was done.
There's one option here, and it's to move to citation.
Yep.
There's no I in there. Oh, gee.
Okay, move that we issue a citation.
Can we have him come in and tell us what his plans are, or?
We've done that.
We've done that, we have a remediation
And see, that's the
plan.
thing, it's no, if staff is no longer involved, and remediation wasn't done, Solely was supposed to be out there to meet with me one time, I've heard nothing.
I would just issue the citation and get the ball rolling again.
I think we should issue citation and let them explain that to the hearings officer,
Exactly.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So, should we motion that?
No, I know.
No.
Yeah.
We don't have to?
We have a motion by Commissioner Stewart. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Shamus. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Moving on, IWV 2019-01, 45 Pepper Street, Grasso, unapproved filling and work within 100 foot of an upland review area. Within 100 foot upland review area, excuse me.
As you know, this is the second time that there's a violation on the property. Currently, the property owner is working without a permit. So they have a approval, but they're doing work without the permits being issued.
Right.
Because the process, the project's in the ROA process. There has been no pre-construction meeting. There is violations against them from zoning as well. I mean, it's a lot more, it's more in the zoning hand, but they're, you know, they have done, there's debris and stuff in an upland review area.
How far are they pushing this new material into the upland review?
It's more new, they haven't pushed it further back, it's just they've, from
Added
the
stuff
first
to it?
one, there's new stuff that's there. You know, there's trees that have been cut down, and so there's debris around.
So, I'm gonna just recommend that this moves to a citation as well. I mean, the property owner is aware of the regulations. This is the second time. They are aware that they're doing, from your report, they're doing work without permits and in violation of existing inland wetland violations, and continues to bring in material and push debris into upland review areas, and basically doesn't care. So, I don't know another recourse to get this cleared up.
Well, they're already basically using that place as a construction yard, because they can't leave, that stuff has no home there when they do the development, when they start, there's no room for all that stuff.
There's supposed to be a building, and then they had there's approval for an area of cinder blocks. Well, they have all these cinder blocks there, and they've got machinery and.
Second.
Nobody made a motion.
I'm pretty sure.
I think,
I recommend it.
Didn't-
I'll make a
Didn't
motion.
He did.
Did I make a motion?
I thought it sounded like he
I
made
thought
one.
he did, but
No, there's no
Sometimes I don't hear
motion.
myself talk.
Sorry.
Well, I heard one and I seconded it.
All right,
that was the
Jeff,
issue with
you,
citation.
and then
all right,
Jeff.
so I have so you are making that motion, Jeff?
Yeah,
Just for
Why don't you make it
clarification?
an official one?
I did.
So you did.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Made a motion to.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Shamus to issue a citation in this matter, and I have a second by Commissioner Stewart. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Can we have more fun?
Sure.
I don't know, can we have, is it possible to have more fun?
IWV 2019-10, 5 Bridge Road, Kimball, unpermitted work in a regulated area.
Okay, so the property owner had originally submitted a plan for subdivision. When there was a site meeting, it was noted that there is a boathouse
Right.
in the area.
Which was long discussed in his hearing.
Right, and so it's been officially written up. That's what this is all about. It's the unapproved disturbance in the upland, in the wetlands, there's structures in the wetlands, there's structures in the upland, there's even some clearing
We
in front of
permitted all this.
Instructions in the wetland?
This is
Is
stuff
that
I
the
thought,
dock?
I thought we
We
permitted
already
it.
did all this.
It was like part of this, their subdivision application, they came in.
They pulled the subdivision application,
They did?
didn't they? They pulled one of their applications.
You mean from zoning?
They did.
We approved something.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Okay. They apparently pulled it from
So it's not a
zoning.
subdivision anymore, but he was building, working one
Because he
lot
had
at
a
a time.
permit for one of those two
first
properties to
lot.
start building.
Yes.
That's the top lot, not the lot by the water,
But
which
I
is where
thought
the pontoon is.
Wait, this-
I don't-
is this-
I'm
is this
Yeah,
something
I'm
that
super
happened
confused.
A while ago, but the knowledge of it was triggered by, or did something happen recently since we had they were here for?
Yeah, it was when they were out looking with part of the review for the subdivision.
So
They
this.
addressed that boat in our hearing. The houseboat.
Do you want me to go shut the door?
I can do it. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, the docks,
I think, you
We
know what,
went
I
through
think
this.
we need to see what other, because I don't remember what the other paperwork was, what the approval was that they had, what lot it was and what it included. It's hard to declare a violation without actually remembering what we condoned or didn't.
Is this something you get a permit for, what he has there?
Say that again?
Is this, what's in
There is
violation?
no permits.
Is it something you could actually get a permit for?
Oh, he
If he had-
doesn't,
If he had not done it yet, could he have got a permit to build it? Or put it in?
it would be in front of you guys,
He, no,
Well, it's
no,
not-
he-
but
make
there's
a
no
vote?
permit for there's no permit for the house or the decks or anything, the docks.
But they were recently constructed, or like since he had the application here for the new subdivision?
They were found when the subdivision application was in.
Found it, okay.
And it's obvious that they're new.
yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it. So what about having this come in and get a permit now?
I guess that's this, if
Make sure it's
you,
all done according to whatever way it's supposed to be done.
I guess my confusion is, did we permit this through the permit that we issued?
Right, that was
And, and,
right.
and that's the clarification, I guess, that,
Do you have anything back from?
because if they had stuff shown on the plans, and there was, I remember seeing the road down there, the docks, and if we approved that plan, we essentially are approving the things that are,
they're there, and we
That are there.
discussed them at length.
yeah. I'd have to go back to look at the site plans
Right,
and
that's,
see
that's what I was,
what, because there was a, you know, yeah.
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
he
they
was talking about the
put he
retaining
put in
wall's been
two
there.
applications at one time. It was the subdivision and then it was the single.
The single,
The
the
development of the
subdivision,
first lot
right, the
Right.
subdivision
that he
was
already had.
pulled.
Has anything been sent out to them?
No, no.
all right, let's do a little more investigation if we
Yeah,
can.
because he talked about the retention wall, which the picture shows, that they, was there to keep up the embankment. The dock was part of that, and that was all discussed and we agreed to it.
I wanna go live in
I
this
think in the
little house.
environmental report from Kenny, or some, it may have been Kenny, he may have even mentioned some of those things that were down there.
There's electricity running to it now, from Bridge Road, it says here.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
yeah, there's electricity to the dock,
Yeah.
Probably no plumbing.
to the, boat.
I think that was one of the things that was concerning to Scott, was there plumbing?
Yeah, there's a
Was there a
bathroom
toilet in there?
There's a toilet in there. You could, someone took photos and you could see a toilet in there.
I
Really?
mean, that house
In
is
the
a
little
floating
house
house,
or in
right?
In the floating thing,
It's
yeah.
just
on the
moved
floating
up,
thing, so that's
dragged
probably
up.
a
It's,
camping
it's
toilet.
off, it's not in the water right now, or is it? It
Well,
was in the
they
water.
dug a hole, they put it on pontoons, and the hole that the dirt from the hole is pushed to the side.
Wait, this little
That little-
building,
Yeah,
that's on pontoons now?
yes.
So it's supposed to go out in the water and it's just sitting on dry land right now?
I don't know if it's supposed to go out in the water, because they dug a hole for it, so it's kind of on water.
They told us it was a boat, a
This
houseboat.
also could have been when the water was
Okay.
down in the lake too, right?
Houseboat.
They drained the lake every once in a while. Was this part of the period of time when the lake was drained down?
But there's electricity
We have no
to
idea.
it.
No, I'm just saying, the fact that it looks like it's on land right now.
Has it got registration numbers?
Actually, no, Jim's right.
If it
Life-
were a
it's got
boat,
life
it would
vest
have
on
to
board?
have, it would
If
have
it's
to be
registered and
registered.
it's floating, then I don't think it's us.
No, I think that's definitely.
It looks like it's got a foundation to me.
No, those are pontoons underneath it. You want the
On
color
page
photo?
6?
Take a look at the color photos.
Look for a license plate.
If it's registered and it's floating, I
That's
don't
fine.
care about it.
Well, some houseboats do.
Toilets?
That's an extension.
Yeah, but,
That's
yeah,
an
it's a holding
extension
tank.
cord.
They do have bathrooms, but.
It could be a
have to
composting
flood-
toilet,
you have
too,
to
like.
It's
flood-
tiny.
yes.
That thing is really small. So it's got-
Camping
It is
toilet.
small.
It
Yes.
is tiny,
It's very
yes.
small.
I don't, well, can we see what the site approval was for the one lot that was approved for development? Although, is that moot because the subdivision was pulled?
The current just takes
They
it.
pulled both of those applications on June 6th.
For the house too?
They pulled everything. I think the
Fire backed out.
because they didn't show up, it was,
I didn't know they
the
pulled
note
it.
is that they pulled the applications and that it was closed.
Holy moly, this
I
just
didn't
gets
know
more
that,
and more
okay, I didn't know
interesting.
that the single was pulled, I knew the subdivision was.
Well, if you pull both applications, then all the violations are still there, right?
Well, we still have an approval that's valid.
Not if you pulled it.
You don't
you
hold an
withdrew it.
approval, you keep an approval. Once you
Right.
have an
they-
approval-
Yeah, the
They have a
wetlands
permit from
approvals will
us.
still be
Yeah,
standing,
they
it's
stay
just
with the
the
property.
P and Z application, so they still have a valid wetlands approval if you approved it.
Right,
It's good for 5 years.
but now, with-
And it's a non-permanent structure as far as we know?
Yes, they're non-permitted.
I think it's a matter of looking at
Yep.
the minutes and then
where
the
did they
permit,
come from?
yeah, and the plans to see what's there.
I don't think they have a permit because they would have had to do, they would have been required to have a pre-construction meeting.
No,
And,
permit, our permit
That's
that we
an
issued.
approval. It's
The
not a
approval,
permit.
right.
There is a difference. It's not a
Well-
permit until they go through all the standard conditions and that they
Right.
meet their standard, their,
But we can, we should be able to
Whatever.
email you guys that information,
okay.
and we
Yeah.
can,
because if it is a boat, it's gotta be registered.
yes, but that is
so-
not under wetland purview, is it?
I don't know.
It's not impacting wetlands.
No, if it's
That's-
floating, it's a boat.
Right, it's
Yeah.
so
Unless
but
you-
that-
not
Well, if
flooding.
you
But you
dug a
guys-
hole
you
into the
guys have to
wetlands.
stick
Then that's
to
the problem,
what
is the hole.
wetlands are.
Yeah.
Not the
You're
boat.
right, you're right.
True.
Right, it's sitting in the hole.
Yeah, if they dug a hole for it.
Yeah, so he dug a hole, that's the problem. The boat's fine.
All right, so we'll table this to the next meeting for pending further information. You guys can go back and review.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're hitting the home stretch here.
Yep, you're,
Status updates, I-0806, 680 Wheeler Road, condition of wall being completed not met, time extension requested.
Well, okay. When this was done, time extension, then he called me and he told me the wall, he finished the wall. So I went out and
Oh, I remember this, you told me.
Yeah.
looked at the wall. I wish I could show you the photos. The wall is complete. Some of the plantings were done, but a lot of it's naturalized. He said to me on the phone, I shouldn't have to do any plantings.
Everybody wants the same
Um,
thing.
all the area in front of the wall is just very disturbed, there's stuff all over the place. That's why I really wish you could see the photos.
So we have a
Do we
plan,
wanna
we
go
have an
To the
approved,
next weekend, to the next.
Well, that's what, so, you know, I mean, he did finish the wall in the time frame. He was asking for an extension at first because he said he wasn't gonna get it done. But the wall is complete, but I think we need to
What about
look
the
at,
plantings?
what about the plantings and
The date?
what was the date of the plantings?
Or-
oh, he was way past his deadline.
So
We,
if
at the
he's
last
saying he
meeting,
should
we
just,
said, at the last meeting, we had said, give him a deadline, a drop dead, I had to be on his property at a certain time, the wall had to be done. At least get some of the plantings, that, some time ago. But I don't think all the plantings were done.
could you look back and see who his landscape architect or designer was? And that person should be then sending us a letter, come before us recommending that they shouldn't have to do anything else.
Yeah, I love that idea, because they're gonna pay they're gonna pay one way, you know, not that you want someone to spend money, but if you have an approval and you don't meet the deadline, and now you say it's vegetation's overcome, well, you have to prove that.
Oh, wait, the landscape architect? He's a landscaper,
Who?
the property owner.
Maybe
Who
give me a
designed- who did the
landscaper
plans?
Without being a landscape architect.
I
No.
know,
That
well,
doesn't make him a
here's the
professional.
plan, but that's not,
Yeah. No, so he probably has buddies.
Who did the plan?
Well, Spath was the engineer.
he was the engineer, but
Keith Cabell, hold on, let's,
submission prepared, but yeah. by
Wayne
staff.
Jacobson, PE.
He's not in LA.
No,
Oh,
It's
my,
not-
he's not with them anymore, but that was bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Wayne Jacobson, he's been gone for quite a while.
He was the engineer, because he's one of those for extensions.
That shows how far back it goes.
All right, well,
Yeah, this was an application back in '08,
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Okay.
and this has been dragging on for a very long time.
I'm of the opinion that we draft a letter to him instructing him to complete his approved plan, and we will give him until October 31st to do so, or September 31st, whatever you guys think.
yeah.
Submitted a plan, it was approved, it needs to be followed.
So you're giving him until when?
October 31st.
What's the consensus?
Anybody got
Wanna
any
do a
other
motion?
opinion on that?
What, October or September?
It's taking them this long.
Originally, his extension, he wanted October, because he said he wasn't gonna get the wall done.
October.
I'm just giving you that heads up.
Let's just give him October.
31st?
We'll show that we're.
What's the second meeting date in October?
That's a good call.
I got it.
October 23rd, which is the date of our second October meeting, in my humble opinion.
I make a motion.
He's full of emotions tonight.
Gotta keep things moving.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Story, second by Commissioner Spence. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes unanimously.
So it's October 23rd is what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Jim made the motion,
Jim
second.
and Lois.
Lois.
IWV 2019-03, 48 Cold Spring Road, unpermitted structure and debris in regulated area.
I'm sorry, that's a deadline to get the plantings done, correct?
Yes.
To
Okay.
complete with the approved plan, yeah. 48 Cold Spring Roads, they were supposed to
Pleasure.
have plans submitted, back in May. Nothing was submitted. They have now, they have Spath working for them. Bless you.
Has he contacted you in regards to this application?
I met with staff
Submission.
the other day. He knows, you know, he's now on board. We went through what the violation was. He plans on getting something submitted for October.
Is this the one where you had the barn and the pavement area in the back?
No, he's on the town of Monroe property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a barn,
No, it's sheds, he has a shed that, he didn't, it wasn't constructed the way it was shown on the permit. And then he just kind of extended his gravel area, he has equipment, he's cleared onto the town of Monroe property,
Oh,
there's other
yes.
sheds. And
Yes, I remember some of that.
So what are we doing with
Wasn't
timelines?
this guy able to do a plan?
He was
on
a
his
builder.
So what are we doing with
Plan
timelines?
on his own?
Do we require an engineering drawing for his fix?
I don't know.
Staff was.
We issued a notice of violation
Yeah.
on this matter in February in February,
Yeah.
and
And they were supposed to submit
a
a
plan,
plan
60
by
days.
May 15th.
yeah, and they never did.
Here's the plan if someone wants to look at it.
I thought that was one of the ones where they could have just.
But, so staff is now on, he wants to submit for the October 23rd. is
Oh.
When he said, because he's gonna get the
Okay.
wetlands flagged. Get someone out there and flag the wetlands and survey it and then figure out what.
Okay.
Oh, their motion, or do we need motion for them?
Well, they're already past the deadline, so at
Well,
this point, we're just waiting for them to come in, or we.
Well, they're
Step up.
way past it, that's why I'm
So,
kinda,
I don't know, my recommendation is that, what, they came and met with you?
they met
right?
with me this week, yeah,
So they're planning a submission for October?
October 23rd. Because I've been on them saying, you passed your deadline.
I think we should issue a letter saying that they're past their deadline and expect to see plans
Okay.
for October 23rd meeting. That's just my,
Mm-hmm.
Which means the
Sounds good.
submission should be the week
I
before.
like it.
Right, so they should, yeah, they should be ready for,
you want to make a motion
Agenda for
there?
the October 23rd.
Motion. Like attach a string to me.
October
and just
16th.
pull. Anyone can just pull a string when they're tired, and I'll just fire a motion off.
Okay,
do we have a
Okay.
second?
No, I don't think we.
I don't think we
Just
did.
to write a-
Oh,
just to-
okay, I
just
thought
to
you-
draft- I was
Jim made a
joking.
mo- oh.
IWC 2019-02, 11 Glen Hollow, second floor addition and new garage and remediation of existing water diversion system.
Oh, is that the one I need to leave the room for? Thank God.
Is it?
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, they're past their deadline and we've heard absolutely nothing from them.
Well, they have an approval.
Have they got a building
Yeah.
permit?
Oh, this one, that we've gone back and
Plans.
forth.
So they're past their 270 days, condition A.
Yeah, 21902, so
No,
that
we
means
didn't
it's
bring
from
it because we
February.
figured we had it up on the screen.
Nuggets.
So I didn't bring the file, but yeah, July 12th is when they were supposed to have submitted remediation plans. Or-
No, no,
No,
no.
They're supposed to,
Revised remediation plans, maybe?
No,
This is our
no,
last
no,
thing,
no,
just so
they
you know.
have
It's
an
up to you.
approval.
Your call.
oh,
They haven't met their conditions of approval, the
Conditions of approval.
270-day deadline.
thank you. Trying to think, it was July 12th.
So what conditions do they still have to meet?
You can use the restroom.
So none of the conditions A were met. That's the 28, the 270, yeah.
270-day. I hate to say that, but usually the condition is if they don't meet it,
That the whole thing lapses?
It
But
does
this is
lapse.
remediation. It's different.
it's,
It's
yeah, it's site
different than-
development.
Oh, it
and
is site
remedi-
development.
Well, yeah, because they're doing the second
partly
floor
site
addition,
Yeah.
new garage,
It was
and
part of a violation,
remediation.
so it was
Yes.
all-
All right,
So-
so the violation stands and the approval is lapsed. It's gone.
Oh my God.
Spent
And it took a
months
while to get
on
to
this.
that point, to get the approval
They
too.
didn't call and ask for an extent, like, they didn't inquire about an extension or nothing?
We've heard nothing.
So can we pull an approval if someone does that?
It's already done. It's
It
gone.
lapses
Once they-
automatically.
once it lapses,
Lapses
It's over.
automatically.
Oh.
They have to start all
So they
over,
have to come back in again if they want to get.
start from the beginning.
Except
So
we
they
have
can't
to
get a building
issue,
permit, they can't get a building permit now.
No.
No, they
Unless
can't,
come
they
to us
can't get,
again.
they have to go through the whole process again.
So
But the remediation stands.
I say that we send them that information, saying your approval has lapsed, so there's no longer a development approval. And this violation needs to be addressed by a certain date or a citation will issue. Right?
Mhm. I think that's, the relation still needs to be done.
October 31st.
And the building department finds out.
Whatever happened to that car wash deal?
It's going, they're doing it
It's going
now.
through, they're
They're
working.
building
I thought
now.
they closed.
No,
Or
they're
they
building,
did close, right?
no, they're
Yeah,
building
make
now,
sure
they're still
not
washing
to-
cars while they're
All right,
building.
let's stay focused here, guys.
Yep,
Uh,
so approval lapse, no longer approval violation to be addressed by the October 31st, if not met citation, is that what I heard? Guys?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
giving head nods.
yes.
Okay. Moving along.
Commissioner Stewart?
It's a shame we don't have that on film.
Okay,
Popped in.
so in regards to the minutes of the July 24th, 2019 meeting, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve with some amendments.
Okay.
Let me find them. Oh, crap. Where'd they go? There they go. All right, on page 2 of 9,
Okey-dokey.
in the middle of the page, under 21908 4 Maple Drive.
Mhm.
Gee, where have I heard that before? And dead set in the middle of the page, says Commissioner Spence clarified that the applicant has the approval for planning and zoning, but needs the conditions of needs the conditions of approval from this commission to be completed. Does this make sense? Because they didn't need our approval to continue. They needed the conditions of the approval that we did have. They hadn't met the conditions.
When in fact, that isn't correct, because they went to planning, right? All right. Okay. Has the approval from planning
I even
and
listened to
zoning.
it again on the video, and
Okay, that needs,
there was quite a dance going on in this one, so
Yeah, there
it was very hard to try to
was.
follow it.
well done, Sarah, for trying to capture it.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I know, it was very difficult, and I was here too. and I couldn't tell you.
Approval. Um, Okay.
Okay, I think that was it for that one.
Yep.
And then the second one was, 2 paragraphs later, it says Chairman Beatty asked if there's an initial deadline. Town engineer clarified, blah, 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 blah. The application was delayed to planning and zoning because the applicant did not submit an application to planning and zoning. Just cross out the originally understand that they needed to. That's a qualifying statement, and it's not. They just didn't submit an application in a timely enough manner. Whether or not they understood is not material in this case.
Okay.
And then the next sentence stands, and then there was another minor one.
Yep.
Oh, really minor. This needs to be, oh, thank you. Oh, okay, there was you had left a statement hanging.
Oh, allow it to go.
Allow it to go. I just,
was
and these
page
were the
4.
words that were used in the hearing, and it was, let it be someone else's headache.
To go.
Plan to let it be someone
Oh.
else's headache. That was another hard one to put words to. So quotes are always good. Okay, got that one? And then the last one is so minor, it's almost, but that needs to be,
Town body.
not bolded, because otherwise it looks like shop site development. And that's it.
Okay,
Good job.
got it.
Second.
Any other changes or comments in regards to the minutes? So I have a motion by Commissioner Spence to approve the minutes as amended. I have a second by Commissioner Stewart. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? And the motion passes unanimously. Do you have anything from the Regulation or Public Outreach Committee?
No, we gotta get started on that again.
Any correspondence?
No, but I have some questions. Do we know what's going on at 35 Millow? Because the pile of rock and dirt that he had is all smoothed out now.
Wait,
and it's all-
35, you mean 4?
4?
4
Is that
mile,
4 mile?
right by the cemetery.
On the
Yeah.
corner there.
Yeah, he had submitted a remediation plan. He's been in touch with me, that was all approved, he has markers he has to put in, and.
Okay, then I'm,
You're good.
What's
But
going
no,
on?
there is a 35 mile, that's why when you said that, I would,
oh, I just looked up 35 Millow.
35 mile is the one that had the pool and the decking in the conservation area. New homeowners bought it.
Oh, and that's still open?
Yeah, they know about the
Together
deadline
again.
that they missed, but.
It's all right. I'll make you another one.
And Field Rock, I
He's
I
in
drove by that
citation.
and I didn't see anything again.
He's in
He's in
citation.
citation,
Okay,
he's,
so that's a dead issue. Never mind, okay, hold on.
you didn't see anything? So
You
the
know what,
pile
I
at
didn't
the top of the
notice it
driveway?
I didn't notice it as I drove by, but I wasn't watching for it either.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's probably why.
Okay, motion.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Wait.
There was one other item, but it really needs the computer to
Yeah.
kind of present to the rest of the commission. So, do we have a meeting in like 2 weeks?
Yes, we do.
So maybe we just wait for that. To
Okay.
show but, I mean, you could explain what I'm talking about, but.
Okay, question was posed to me today, because 17 Enterprise was one of the things on the agenda, and I was asked, what was this nice big property that looks like a quarry, which is known as 64 Cambridge and 4 Independence? There are 2 nice big files here. There's never been any formal violations written up against it from the wetlands. There has been violations in zoning in that aspect. It's changed ownership again recently, and
This is
Who's
the
the
value of
owner?
the O and
Who's
G
the
property.
owner?
I don't know the new owner, but Kimball owned it prior.
This
Which
is-
one is this? Which one?
64.
The quarry?
It's the quarries
Oh,
over
the
on
actual
Independence.
quarry.
The
Yeah,
actual
active-
quarry.
Oh, I thought
New
you.
England Materials.
New England Material, okay, I wasn't sure.
Or the
We thought that it was
former,
Adam Construction.
The
the
former.
former New England.
Yeah, it's,
Let's,
it was sold.
Yes, I don't have the
yeah,
current
we might
owner,
as well
but-
wait till we have visual on that one, because it's too complicated.
It's very complicated, okay.
Very,
Jason, we'll miss you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for stepping up.
You guys, keep up the good work. Sorry to be dropping out, but
I want to just get the commission's thought. I will make an executive session for the beginning of the next meeting so that we can vote someone into a chairperson position. Okay?
Does it have to be an executive session?
Don and I were discussing that before the meeting, and I seem to remember that it was when I took it from Mike, but I could be wrong.
It shouldn't be executive session.
It's just
I
a
think that's a
special.
public, a
No, I mean,
special.
it's-
No, it's not a public, it's between the commission themselves.
Yeah, but you can't keep people out of it.
You can, it's an executive session, but. doesn't-
Well, you know what, then I guess it was an executive session, because we had
Well,
audience
It
members
just
for
says a
it.
special
It's
organizational meeting.
a session for the executives, but you can't limit
Okay.
the public for a
Because it's
vote
not,
of,
it's not
a
a
vote of.
legal,
a vote
Okay.
of officer.
Okay,
When I was
so
voted
we
in,
just
it
do
was
it
just a
on the
regular-
first,
yeah,
as
I
the
think
first
regular meeting.
item, so you need to think about,
Well, who wants to do it?
Well, that should be a discussion off the record, I believe.
yes.
Lois.
Okay,
All
so
right,
I will hear
let's,
that, I'll hear that motion for adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by
Jim, you
Commissioner
fell down
Spence.
on the job.
What?
You
Motion,
didn't pull Jim's string.
Who seconded? Second by Commissioner Romano. All those in favor?
aye.